You have been sold a lie about what it actually means to be rich. From the moment we start school, we are brainwashed to believe that the ultimate scorecard is your annual salary. You see a doctor making $300,000 and you assume they are free. You see a teacher making $60,000 and you assume they are struggling. But what if I told you that a high income is often a dangerous trap designed to keep you broke? There is a hidden mathematical force that specifically targets high earners and destroys their wealth. It is a silent killer that eats away at your freedom while you are busy celebrating your promotion. Most people think wealth is just a function of how much money flows into your bank account. But history is full of athletes and lottery winners who made millions and died penniless. The truth is that a high salary is not wealth. It is simply a high-pressure fire hose of water, and if your bucket has holes in it, that water disappears just as fast as it blasts in. Today, we are going to look at the terrifying math behind why earning more often leaves you with less. We are going to expose the golden handcuffs and why your tax bracket is secretly your biggest enemy. By the end of this video, you will understand why your boss loves your high salary even more than you do. Let's start by destroying the single biggest myth in personal finance, the idea that income equals wealth. Society judges your success based on your visible consumption, which is usually funded by your paycheck. We see a brand new luxury SUV, and our brains instantly assume the driver is winning the game. But strictly speaking, spending money is the exact opposite of having money. When you rely on a high salary to fund a high-status lifestyle, you are walking a terrifying tightrope. You are trading your most valuable asset, your time, for a currency that is constantly devaluing. The trap is that as your income rises, the world expects your spending to rise along with it. We call this lifestyle inflation. But it is actually a psychological law that is hard to break. It states that your expenses will always expand to match the income you have available. When you get a raise, you don't just save the difference, you upgrade your life. You get the nicer apartment, the leased car, and the premium gym membership. Suddenly, you are making double what you made 5 years ago, but you feel just as stressed. You have moved from a small cage to a larger, gilded cage, but the door is still locked. This is why we see high-level executives living paycheck to paycheck, terrified of losing their job. They have built a heavy financial machine that requires premium fuel every single day just to keep running. Now, let's get into the brutal math that nobody talks about when they offer you a raise. The tax system is effectively designed to punish high efficiency in the workforce. When you earn $50,000, the government takes a relatively small bite of your labor. But as you climb the ladder to $200,000 or more, that bite becomes a massive chunk. Let's say you are a single filer earning $100,000 a year. Your take-home pay is roughly $70,000 after the government takes its share. Now, imagine you work incredibly hard, burn the midnight oil, and double your salary to $200,000. You might think you now have double the money to spend, but the math proves otherwise. Because you have moved into higher tax brackets, your effective tax rate jumps significantly. You are working twice as hard, but you are not bringing home twice the buying power. In many cases, high earners lose nearly 50% of every additional dollar they earn. This is the marginal tax rate, and it is the silent killer of building real wealth. Business owners get to pay taxes after they spend their money. But as an employee, the system takes its cut before you even see the check. If you earn $300,000, you might pay a six-figure sum just for the privilege of working. That is $100,000 that cannot be invested, and cannot buy your freedom. This mathematical drag makes it almost impossible to save your way to wealth strictly through a salary. Beyond the taxes, there is a psychological trap that captures almost every high earner. Psychologists call this the hedonic treadmill, and it explains why you are never satisfied. When you are a student, a used Honda Civic feels like absolute freedom and luxury. But once you land that six-figure job, the Honda Civic suddenly feels embarrassing. You convince yourself that you need the BMW because you are a professional. Now, you buy the car, and for 3 months, you feel a rush of dopamine every time you drive. But soon, the BMW becomes your new normal, and the happiness fades back to zero. Now you need the bigger house, the vacation club, or the designer watches to feel that rush again. The problem is that these upgrades come with recurring monthly costs that act like chains. We call these fixed costs, and they are the concrete shoes that drown high earners. If your monthly burn rate is $10,000, you need a high-paying job just to survive. You lose the ability to take risks, start a business, or take a year off to breathe. You become a slave to your salary because the infrastructure of your life demands it. This is why high income often makes you poorer. It raises the stakes of your survival. A low earner with low expenses is actually more resilient than a high earner with massive debts. Let's look at a concrete example of two people to see how this plays out in the real world. Meet Dr. Dan, a specialist physician earning $400,000 a year, and meet Engineer Emily, a developer earning $150,000. Dr. Dan feels rich, so he buys a $2 million home with a jumbo mortgage. He drives a leased Porsche, sends his kids to private school, and flies first class. His monthly fixed expenses are $25,000, leaving him with zero savings. Despite his massive income, Dr. Dan has a net worth of zero because his assets equal his debts. If Dr. Dan breaks his hand and cannot work, he is bankrupt within 90 days. Now let's look at Engineer Emily, who decided to hack the system. She drives a paid-off Toyota, lives in a modest condo, and doesn't care about impressing strangers. Her monthly expenses are only $4,000, leaving her with massive surplus cash. She invests $5,000 every single month into a boring index fund. Because her lifestyle is cheap, she is not stressed about taxes or inflation. Over 20 years, Emily's investments compound into a portfolio worth millions. Meanwhile, Dr. Dan is still working 60-hour weeks just to pay the interest on his lifestyle. Emily is technically poorer on paper, but she is infinitely wealthier in reality. She owns her time, while Dr. Dan has sold his time to the bank and the taxman. This proves that wealth is not what you earn, wealth is what you keep. There is another hidden cost to a high salary that is almost never discussed. High-paying jobs usually require a level of intensity that destroys your free time. When you are earning big money, your employer expects you to be always on. This leaves you with zero mental energy to research investments or learn new skills. You become a specialist in your narrow field, but you remain financially illiterate. You are too exhausted to think, so you outsource your thinking to expensive advisors. Your time becomes so valuable that you start paying for convenience in every aspect of life. You pay for house cleaners, meal delivery, and overpriced travel just to survive the week. While these services save time, they erode the margin between your income and your savings. You are running faster and faster on the hamster wheel, but the scenery never changes. True wealth is having the time to sit, think, and allocate capital effectively. If your high salary demands all your attention, you are cutting yourself off from real opportunities. The wealthy person buys assets that work while they sleep. The salary earner works until they collapse just so they can sleep. So, if you are a high earner, how do you escape the salary trap before it is too late? The first step is to mentally divorce your spending from your income immediately. When you get a raise, you must pretend that the money does not exist for your daily life. Direct that new cash flow instantly into a separate savings vehicle where you can't touch it. You must build a financial firewall that prevents lifestyle creep from infecting your brain. The second step is to shift your goal from high income to high net worth. Stop measuring your success by your W-2 form and start measuring it by your balance sheet. Track your net worth every single month and get addicted to seeing that number grow. You need to buy assets that produce cash flow, or what we call freedom units. Real estate, stocks, or small businesses are the only things that can replace your salary. Your goal should be to accumulate enough assets to cover your basic survival expenses. Once your assets pay for your housing and food, your salary becomes play money. This completely shifts the power dynamic between you and your employer. You can walk away from a toxic boss because you know you won't starve. You can negotiate harder for raises because you don't desperately need the job. Ironically, the less you need the money, the more money people are willing to pay you. The salary trap is seductive because it offers immediate validation and comfort. It feels good to be the person who can pick up the expensive tab at dinner. It feels good to have the shiny title and the corner office with the view. But never forget that a salary is a drug they give you to make you forget your dreams. Do not let the golden handcuffs become so tight that you lose circulation to your brain. Use your high income as a tool to buy your freedom, not as a license to buy more clutter. Be like Engineer Emily, live simply, invest aggressively, and buy your time back. Because at the end of the day, the only true luxury in this world is freedom. Don't let a high salary trick you into building a prison of your own design. Stay disciplined, stay focused on the math, and build wealth that lasts. Thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe for more truths about the hidden math of money.